大家早安，今天是11月21号星期五，欢迎回来通勤10分钟。
大家早安。
那今天这集节目呢，算是一个我们的特别系列 bonus track， 在今天呢，也是我们第一集在我们的通勤10分钟频道有史以来第一次的访谈内容。第一集的嘉宾呢，我们就邀请到了我们非常非常喜欢的一本书，叫做 The Path is Path 无路之路的作者 Paul。
那这一次的这个企划呢，我觉得也算是我自己非常的兴奋啊。那我上一次呢感到这个兴奋的一个时刻呢，我觉得可能或是说紧张的时刻呢，应该是在5年前，我们在2020年大概5月的时候呢，我们第一次上架了我们 Podcast 的第一集的节目。那时候其实上架的时候呢，也是就是感觉非常非常的兴奋啊，而且那时候做第一期节目啊，还要做第一季的节目，前50集的节目呢，我们都是拿一支 iPhone， 我们两个就对着那支 iPhone 去录音。到现在呢，其实5年过去，我觉得时间过得真的非常的快。
而且那时候上架第一集的节目，想说应该不会有人听吧，但是呢，那时候我们做得非常的开心。每一天呢，因为要做 podcast， 所以呢，好像对生活都多了一点好奇心跟热忱。我们出门啊，在那时候住在温哥华嘛，走在外面看到任何有趣的东西啊，商业的故事，我跟 Tony 都会讨论说，这个东西呢，我们今天可以在节目里面讲。然后不知不觉，那时候在第一季前10集，慢慢就是那个听众从50个，然后200个，然后500个，然后破1000个。那时候每天晚上我跟 Tony 呢都是带着笑容，然后呢有好多好多的讨论，很累很累的讨论到睡着。
所以我觉得今年呢其实做了非常多的回顾啊，还有自己的思考，然后想了很多的方式呢，怎么样去带给这个节目新的企划，还有新的方向。那我觉得呢，最近的一些企划呢，都算是至少是6个月到1年的一个筹备还有准备啊。那我觉得这一次算是踏出一个突破一个自我呢，新的一个企划开始呢，就是我们开始来访问其他在各行各业还有各个领域呢非常厉害、非常棒、非常值得我自己呢都非常想学习的人物。那今天第一集呢，刚好跟我这个礼拜在 IG 还有社群媒体上面呢跟大家分享的罗斯倒数30天计划呢，非常的有相关，而且是受到他启发的，就是这本书《无路之路》跟无路之路的作者 Paul Miller 呢的一个访谈。
那这本书的全名它其实叫《无路之路》，你的人生怎么可能有潜力？商业罕见传奇工作与生活的新解答。这本书的作者也是我们今天的主角 Paul 呢，他的出身平凡，当时呢年轻的时候一心想要挤进人生胜利组的内圈，他努力破解规则，考上名校，还进到了全球最知名的顾问公司，跟 CEO 们并肩工作。他年纪轻轻就开始规划往后20年的职涯，他曾经以为这是唯一的路，直到这条成功之路渐渐失灵，他开始怀疑人生怎么会有路可循。
那这一集的访谈节目呢，它是全英文的这个访谈，所以我在今天的节目下面 show note 呢有附上了一个，我用这个算是用现在有很多的非常多的 AI 工具嘛，所以我用这个工具呢所生成的一个逐字稿。那我自己呢有稍微给它润饰，稍微给它看过一次。如果大家有需要的话呢，可以打开这个逐字稿呢来去跟着一起收听。
如果你也觉得自己好像走在预设之路上，也就是看起来有前途，多数人都认为的正确道路，但是仍然有迷惘的话，那么这本书还有今天的节目呢，非常适合你收听。希望能够带给你勇气，活出理想的生活。无论你是正走在主流的道路，计划转型，或者你只是稍微在人生的路途上有点迷路，希望这集内容能够让你遇见全新的人生风景。
This is the first ever, very exciting, and I'm very nervous that we'll ever do an interview show. And we have our first ever guest, Paul, the writer of Pathy Path, on the show, which this book has been a tremendous influence for me this year. I've read the book a couple of times in English version and also in Chinese version. I'm very happy today we have Paul on the show to talk about Pathy Path. Welcome to the show, Paul. Can you introduce a little bit of yourself and say hello to the audience?
Yeah, so thanks for inviting me to this. I appreciate you taking your first experiment doing a live interview with me. I'm Paul Millard. Like you said, I wrote The Pathless Path. That is really a culmination of something I did at the age of 32, which was blowing up my life, walking away from sort of what I call the default path. And the default path isn't sort of a specific kind of career or companies or anything like that. It's really the story in your head you grow up with about what you're supposed to be doing in life. Almost everyone from every country has some form of story in their head about what they're supposed to be doing. Everyone I've met in Taiwan has a story. It's similar but different than the one I grew up with in the US. And so I walked away from that path after job hopping. I had the appearance of success, but underneath I was very discontent. I was not finding my way, my place in the world. And I just needed to run away from that world. Over the last 8.5 years, I've been continuing to make sense of a new path. I like calling it the pathless path because it doesn't have a goal, it doesn't have an aim. It's just a continuous act of finding out, learning, reflecting, experimenting, and adjusting as you go. And for me, that was a relief, finding that phrase. It was the idea that I didn't have to have a plan. I didn't have to always be making more every year. I didn't have to be succeeding. And I could kind of reclaim those things and redefine them on my terms.
No, that's very exciting. I think being able to encounter or, kind of discover the pathy path and then come up with the phrase yourself. And you talk about the default path. And I think in today's show, we want to start with the default path because it's a story that is really ingrained in every culture, and specifically for Taiwanese audience, even for ourselves, myself and Esther, the story of, hey, you have to get a good job, you have to have more salaries, you have to be a good employee in the company. And that's kind of the phrase, you call it the default path.
Mm-hmm. So in your words, how would you define the default path?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's really the story of what you should be doing. Mm-hmm. When you ask people what they should be doing in their lives, almost everyone can recite a series of extrinsic milestones from 0 to 30 years old. Mm-hmm. Graduate from school, go to university, graduate from university, get a job, maybe you get a master's, then you get married and have a kid. Mm-hmm. The problem with this is, one, it doesn't account for any of the ups and downs that people inevitably face. Layoffs, confusion, not finding a good fit in the world. Second problem is it basically stops at age 30. Mm-hmm. And so for the rest of people's adult lives, it's just like ... retirement. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so there's this huge swath of adult life which we've sort of just said, well, you should just put your head down, not think about these things, and grind forward because the only goal is retirement, right? Mm-hmm. And another one of those things is owning a home. Owning a home in Taiwan is probably even more intense of a pressure than owning in the U.S. But I think if you grow up in Taipei, it's just extremely unreasonable. The price to rent ratios are some of the highest in the world.
Yeah.
Personally, I can't afford a home in the U.S. where I would like to own a home. Mm-hmm. So I've just sort of abandoned that dream. And I've said, okay, that's not something that's part of how I'm defining success or what I'm aiming at. Mm-hmm.
Coming from you and then coining or coming up with the term default path, and to me or even to a lot of Taiwanese readers, it's kind of exciting or interesting is because we always thought from an East Asian perspective that the Western culture are more, there's a lot of freedom, there's all the things that you can try, but you still coming from that culture, you still was ingrained or kind of was trapped in that default path mindset.
I think there's more openness in the U.S. for entrepreneurship and taking risks and going after your dreams. But we have 350 million people. Mm-hmm. What you're seeing is the far end of the spectrum where we have extreme outliers, right?
Exactly.
I think on the average, most parents, most families are raised with the idea that, you do the same thing. I think the ideas I grew up with was you go to school, you try to get good grades, and then you get a good job at a big company and do that for 40 years. Maybe you jump to another job or something. But basically just put your head down and work. Don't question these things. And then I think in the US, what's become even more supercharged over the past few decades is if you're making a lot of money, it doesn't matter what you're doing. So try to make a lot of money no matter what. One of the ideas I grew up with was, don't be a teacher, don't be a therapist, you're going to be poor. The worst fear in the US is like, what if you're poor, right? And it's not to be rich, it's just to have like good money.
So we're moving to the next question. We share about your research on the modern work and the history of work and how people view them. Work from your book, Pathless Path, and it sparked a lot of feedback, mostly like positive feedback. So from our audience, could you briefly elaborate the research you did on the modern work? Like how people attach their meaning of life to their work.
Because I think the way you come up with the term default path is by I think one of the reasons you come up with that is because you did an extensive research or you're understanding how the modern work or how the modern work life came to be. And then we're just sort of interested, like, how did you do that? How did you find out, okay, the modern work was kind of like, it was created like 100 years ago. It's not that long-standing, and that idea somehow just kind of was forced into our mindset. Like you said, you have to grind for 40 years after you turn 30.
Right. So if you were born 150 years ago and you're walking around and saying, I just want to work for a big company, get a good pension, retire, and live well, people would think you're a lunatic because none of that existed.
Exactly.
Right? So like the modern default path of like the stable career and a steady paycheck and retirement and all these benefits and all this safety and then like long-term mortgages and the financing instruments that are set up with that, that's really a post-World War II order sort of thing. And it's global now. Now, I'm the first to acknowledge that's an incredible feat because it's the most efficient way we've figured out how to share prosperity all around the world with massive amounts of people. Before that system of capitalism and creating wealth, just a lot more people were a lot less well off, right? So at the margin and historically, this is great. Like we're transferring wealth from people creating companies to like the average person that's like literally only working a job. 40 hours a week is pretty good for like a stable adulthood, health, food, shelter, these things. Now, I think what happened is we're like 3 or 4 generations into experiencing this system, and we've sort of lost sight of these broader perspectives of work. One is that historically, like work was just seen as like something you do because you either need to meet your needs to literally get food or contribute to your community. So a lot of beliefs sprung up around work because of that. And then 2, like this is just a cycle of this over and over again, right? Your parents saw your grandparents do this, and it sort of worked. I think in Taiwan, it's almost more rapid. It's happened so fast. In the past, like it's happened in almost like one generation. Like many people in Taiwan experienced their grandparents were literally farmers or refugees or immigrants from other places to like now the 2 generations down are like knowledge workers. We don't know where these ideas come from. And so I think what's happened, I call this the accidental meaning hypothesis. And so the generation above us, like just played by the rules, did what their grandparents said, and like everything worked out. Well, if you were born in Taiwan or the US in like the 60s or 70s, like the world grew so much. Like prosperity like rained down from the heavens.
Exactly.
Now, you'd be pretty naive if you thought like you could just take any random job and follow that same strategy and like acquire a home in an expensive U.S. city or in Taipei. It's just not going to work, right? And so if you're not like born with like hardware manufacturing skills and semiconductors, like with that interest and proclivities, like what do you do, right? These are really hard questions. And so I don't have an answer for like what we do at a societal level, but at an individual level, I've sort of reformulated, okay, given that like I actually don't feel good working in this like high paid sector, even though I'm good at it, what are the trade-offs I'm willing to make a different path work that does work for me? So long answer, but some thoughts there.
Yeah, I love your answer. And since you're on your path now and you're not in like corporate America or work like 9-to-5 job, do you feel any like more satisfied in your life now, or like the job you do, the life you have? What's the difference between these two, like whole different life?
Yeah, people ask me, how do you deal with the uncertainty, all the ups and downs, the hard parts of it? And it's weird because my life is way more uncertain, but I feel way more grounded. I feel connected to myself. I wake up every day knowing I can like show up as the person I want to be, the father I want to be, the spouse I want to be. And so like I feel really good with my life. I did not feel good on my previous path. But I had the appearance of success, so nobody asks, like, what's wrong with you? And so it's this weird flip of being on this path now. People ask, like, aren't you scared? Like, what are you doing for retirement? What was your plan for, like, making money? And it's like, I don't know, and that's okay. Because I have some experience. I have trust in myself. I have faith in the future. And if it doesn't work out, like, I go take a job. It's not that big of a deal.
For many in Taiwan or in Asia broadly, the default path is strongly reinforced by society, family, cultural, and how do you see this dynamic?
I think everyone I've talked to around the world, I've talked to people from dozens of countries, everyone thinks that they're special. Oh, you don't understand how strict it is here.
Yeah.
Right? We're different. It's more intense here. Now, maybe in Taiwan, East Asia, the family pressures and societal pressures are more intense, right? There's just less variation. You have less people, too. We have 350 million Americans. We have some people at the edges of all personality spectrums, as we see on the news and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think finding examples is hard. And so I think there's increasingly more examples in Taiwan, too. Many people are taking alternative paths. And so I think people want everything to be perfect, right? They're like, I'm miserable at work and I want to make a change, but like my family will be disappointed with me.
Yeah.
That might be the path you have to take. I don't know. You have to figure out what trade-offs you're willing to make. I think people want everything to just be like perfect. I can have it all. It may not be true, right? People are going to be disappointed in you. They're going to project their insecurities onto your path, right? There are some people, when you're doing things like this, podcasting, you'll have relatives or family members or friends that will literally not acknowledge that you do these things.
Yeah, they don't even know what is this.
They can't talk about it
Yeah.
because acknowledging you're doing something different would invoke questions that they would have to then answer for themselves.
Yeah, most of the question I receive from my like family or relatives, the first is how much money you make.
Yeah, and so this is something people really struggle with. This is very American too. You do one thing and everyone asks, are you making money? Are you going to scale it? Are you going to sell it? Do you have any customers? What's your plan? Are you hiring a team member? Are you building a business? Are you It's like, no, I literally started a podcast myself because I really enjoyed it. It was really challenging. And actually not being able to easily make money from it was sort of a feature because I could continually commit to it knowing I actually cared about it. And so one of the biggest shifts I experienced after quitting my job is I had more time and I realized, I can spend time doing things I actually care about that may not be for a business purpose. And so my writing, for 5 years after I quit my job, I did that for free, for fun, with most of my time and energy, not with a plan, but because I could. And so I structured my life up until writing The Pathless Path to do other stuff like consulting gigs or online courses to like make money in a small amount of time just so I could spend my days freely writing, because it just felt so good to write, and I want writing to be part of my life. And that's enough. Like, you don't have to monetize everything. This idea that like you need to make money from your passion misleads too many people, because it closes off possibilities.
Yeah.
You should leave all possibilities open, right? And if you're able to commit to something you can do over a long period of time with uncertain outcomes, you are going to be in a really interesting spot in the future for serendipitous outcomes, because no one's competing with you. You're literally the only one that can do the thing on your own terms, driven by your own motivation.
Yeah, I really like that kind of explanation. And I want to go a little bit back to what you've described on, we talk about the default path, the culture, kind of pressure and family. And you talk about it's really hard, like going on the default path. It's really hard. And these are some of the hardest questions you have to ask yourself. What's your drive? What's your motivation? And a lot of people I've seen that's taken on the default path is because they don't want to take on the hard questions. Or even the example we talk about, you're doing a podcast, you're starting some shows, and your relative will start asking the service level questions, which are to me, it's the easy questions. It's not the hard questions. It's not the why are you doing this?
Right.
Tell me more about what you're doing. It's the service level. Hey, can you survive?
Yeah.
Right? And I think you talk about facing the hard question, and then you talk about finding your drive and then working on something that you really love. I think my question is, how do you deal with that? Because we all know it's hard, but it will be satisfying in the long term, right? You'll find the serendipity, but throughout the process, is there something that you do to face that uncertainty or face that hardness?
Yeah, I think writing for me has been very powerful. People ask, aren't you worried about money? But no one ever asks, are you worried of running out of passion for life?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's crazy, because that's all that really matters. Passion, like energy, caring about the people in your life. No one asks about those things. Are you worried about money? Are you worried about retirement? All these, like, there's sort of like these package of worries that everyone agrees you're supposed to worry about. And so an interesting thing is, like, in the US, healthcare is a major worry, because nobody gets healthcare unless you have a job or you have to buy it directly, and it's extremely expensive. But there are laws that help protect it for low-income people. But it's this standard thing that people will say, even if they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'd quit my job, but, I got to pay for healthcare, right? And so it's these basket of worries that help you, one, like, deny what you actually want to do, and then two, like, make you sort of see things as impossible. At the end of the day, like, you just have to decide, like, what do I really want? Am I really aiming at happiness, thriving in life? Or, like, am I just taking for granted that, like, my entire life should be built around the worry of earning enough money? And some people, that fear of not having enough money will literally force them to do things for decades of their life that they don't want to be doing. And that sucks. I don't want to change everyone's mind, but I want to help people at the margin to see different possibilities.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we thought about, and then I think it's very powerful. And then asking these questions, right? What makes you happy in life? What's your desire? What drives you? What motivates you every morning when you get up? And to you, it's writing. And I think what you talk about is especially very inspiring for a lot of people that is on the margin, because for a lot of different people, their hobby or their interest might not be writing, but might be something else. But it might not fit in perfectly in the traditional world or the default path of, hey, this hobby or interest will make you a lot of money. So they're sort of kind of abandoning it or kind of putting it in the background.
Yeah, and writing too, especially with like a public audience, even though it was small early on, was a way for me to test my experiments and beliefs, right? So I'd write about, I actually like writing and I want to do this even if there's no promise of making money. Mm-hmm. I write that and then I share it with people. Sharing your ideas with others is scary, but it's like, oh, that feels true. And then I can check in on that a month later. Okay, I devoted myself to writing. My bank account shrunk by $2,000. Is this still something I want to do? Right? And it's a practice over time. A couple times I've taken projects I didn't want to do just to make money and make some of the fear go away. Each time during those projects, I'm like, oh, I should just double down on the writing more because that's sustainable. I have the natural energy and drive toward that or with that activity. Right. And so it's been a continuous process of reflection and changes and experiments. And I'm still learning. But it keeps working. Like I almost take it 1 year at a time. It's like, okay, did I break even or like do pretty good? All right. It's fine. Keep going.
Nice. And during the process, how do you deal with like self-doubts? I'm just really curious because, like, specifically for Taiwanese or for Asians, right? We get a lot of these questions, the surface level questions, and then a lot of mindset that we will have is, okay, when people ask us these type of questions, we start questioning ourselves. The self-doubt come up.
Yeah.
Am I really making that money? Do I really enjoy writing, or am I just kind of escaping from the corporate life?
Yeah, it's a good test, right? You can start to reflect on, okay, am I bullshitting myself? A couple things. One is like, I wrote this essay called Your Insecurities, Not Mine. Mm-hmm. And so the idea was when people are saying, aren't you worried about? I would just run this phrase in my head. Oh, those are your insecurities, not mine, right? And people are just telling you what they're afraid of. Mm-hmm. Right? It doesn't mean you have to absorb their worries. They're trying to communicate it to you so you can be worried instead of them worrying. Right? They don't want to think about the deeper questions or test them. They just want to like air the worry and move on. Mm-hmm. Right? I think too is you can't ultimately convince people that don't want to be convinced. Mm-hmm. Right? Some people's fear is so deeply embedded, right? Especially people that are a little older. Like some people are just done. Like they're not going to update their ideas or beliefs. Like, and what you need to do is find the others on similar paths. Mm-hmm. You need to find the people that not only don't laugh when you come up with a crazy plan or idea, they say, that's awesome. I'm rooting for you. Let me know how I can help. Right? You need those people because you can just let loose a little. Mm-hmm. I think early on, those people I really leaned into. Part of moving to Taiwan for me was to get some space from the U.S. I just felt this pressure all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, the U.S. does have this entrepreneurial spirit, but it also has this very strong pull to conformism and like fitting in, working for a corporation, getting the same house as everyone else, sending your kids to the same schools, like pursuing the same like material objects. And so I found that so suffocating, right? And so part of moving to Taiwan was just like get space. And like it was really a season of solitude for me. Mm-hmm. And I think one challenge now is like I understand a lot more about Taiwanese culture. I'm married into a Taiwanese family. So I sort of have a sense of some of the expectations in like everything in society, from like proper places to place your bags and wearing a swim cap and so many rules everywhere.
And now you're experiencing it the second time.
Yeah, now I need to go to Thailand.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, it's not as heavy for me actually because I didn't grow up with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it's frustrating, but I can sort of like let it go more easily. Whereas the US, like I just feel so much pressure to constantly be making money there. Everyone in my extended family is like working in high paid full-time jobs. Mm-hmm. And they're all doing better than me. And so other creatives look at me and are like, oh, you're so successful. But like in my family, I'm like the struggling artist.
So how do you deal with that kind of struggle when you like sometimes need to like visit your family?
Oh, I mean, it's fine. It's just I know other people worry about me, and it's hard to not absorb some of that, right? Among my cousins who are like working in the corporate world, my brother, like we're all just like family members. Like we don't really care about what anyone's doing for work. But I do find it a bit hard because most people aren't interested or curious about my work. And it really matters to me. I really care about it. It's not like just a job to me like it is for other people. And so I have like one or two relatives that are like somewhat curious. And so I do feel a bit lonely and isolated in that environment, especially when like people are buying like a huge house or like having expensive things. And it's like, okay, am I a failure? But am I going to make a change? That's the thing. Am I going to go make a change in how I'm spending my time and setting up my day? Right now, no. So I need to just own the game I'm actually playing with my life and understand the trade-offs that it gives, right? To many people, my life would be an utter failure, especially like Americans. I'm 40, have a daughter, and I don't own a home. That's failure for a lot of people. Embarrassing, even, right? In Taiwan, like owning a home is like the mark of making it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You can't, I mean, I feel like I talk to people and they're like, I won't even consider having a kid until I can own a home.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, I don't understand that. It's just like, my daughter has lived in rentals her whole life. She hasn't complained yet.
Soon, probably.
She hasn't said like, where's the title for this home? But like, yeah, kids don't care. It's all these stories we convince ourselves we need to do. It's all made up in our heads.
Yeah.
And like, you need to adjust to reality. Like, I can't underestimate this enough. Like, Taipei has like the second highest price to rent ratio in the world.
Yeah.
Like at the median income level, that's an insane purchase. That is not an investment anymore. That is like a speculative bet on like a continued housing bubble.
Yeah.
Right? And so that also means like rent is relatively cheap as well. And so you have to figure out like what are the conditions in such that I can thrive in my life.
And I think I'd really like, because I think we talk about this, and then really like what you talk about. You have to force yourself, or you have to make the change, right? These are the hard decisions, and you'll look a lot different from others. And then I want to bring this to the question we talk about, and specifically in the Chinese traditional version, in the very first page, in the foreword, you wrote for Taiwanese readers. Even though I think the specialty of your book in Taiwan is it happens in Taiwan. You wrote the book in Taiwan, and then you marry a Taiwanese person. And to a lot of Taiwanese, that is very special, right? People will think, oh, wow, is it because of this place? Like Taiwan is such a beautiful, great island. I'm not denying it. It's a really great island. But I think we talk about it's not about Taiwan. It's more so about yourself, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, there is some magic that emerged after I moved here.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of fell in love with writing while here and met my wife within a month. And so something
is there.
I mean, The story of meeting my wife is kind of crazy. We matched when I visited here for a week on Tinder. But then we never met up.
Oh.
And we both sort of I forgot about her completely.
Ooh.
Independently, we had only messaged on WhatsApp but never met up. I went back to Boston. I sort of was I had done an Asia trip and I was I really like Taipei. What if I just I looked at an Airbnb, I booked a place for 2 months, I sold all my stuff, I moved out of my place in Boston. This was 5 months a period. I moved back to Taipei, beginning of September 2018, no plan. Wandering around for weeks. And in those first few weeks, I start noticing I'm doing nothing and I'm writing every day. I feel like this is something I just was having so much fun with it. And it was what if I followed this feeling? And I sort of committed to writing in that month. A couple weeks later, I'm sick at home, in my tiny twin bed in a shared Airbnb with I'm staying with an older guy who just I think he's just a landlord and rents out Airbnbs, and scrolling my phone and I'm oh, I matched with that girl, and I just messaged her. We met up a couple days later, and then after that we were pretty much inseparable. And so what happened when I moved to Taiwan was I let go. I let go of trying to be a freelance consultant after quitting my job. I let go of needing to be successful. I let go of the identity of Paul, the successful person. I let go of my hope of ever getting married or starting a family. I was clinging so hard to life and trying to aim at it over and over again and just ending up frustrated. And I think by moving around the world somewhere, maybe I could have gone somewhere else. But here I was able to just release and you know what? My strategy for the last 10 years was not working. What if I do the opposite of everything I was doing? And so I was just very open to the universe and what it was going to offer me. After experiencing that, I don't want to screw with the universe too much. I always want to make sure I'm leaving open a little space in my life for serendipity, right? Who knows what's going to happen? And so I really just keep staying connected to my energy, keep space open, and sort of just try to notice what's emerging. But people can adopt the story that Taiwan's a special place.
Exactly.
It is a special place for me, but I don't know if it's Taiwan specific.
Yeah, right. And then I think the more important story, kind of from ourselves, is okay, Taiwan is a special place, but there could be another special place out there, or the notion of letting go, specifically for a lot of people who grew up in Taiwan. You have all these kind of burden, you have all these pressure or kind of expectations where you kind of just let go and then go to somewhere else.
Yeah, I have a lot of Taiwanese friends who have thrived in many locations around the world. I know in your program at NTU, a lot of people do go international, right?
Yeah,
because they're good at English and they can do different things. I've met people that have thrived in the similar way in Australia or Europe or the US. If you're somebody that needs freedom and doesn't want people controlling you, the US can be a really great place to go. Right? It can be intoxicating to be I can wear whatever, I can say whatever, I can be bold, I can take risks, I can talk back to my manager at work. This is great. Some people love that. But for me, that's all just normal to me. Which is not to say I was oh, let me work in the Taiwanese work environment. That would have been a step backward for me. No offense, Taiwanese work culture. But yeah, I think the culture here, just a little more chill about everything, a little more family focused. I think for a lot of people, the prime goal of life is having the family together.
And that's a lot of times I think that's real. super important for a lot of Taiwanese people, like the family oriented, and that's how the housing thing come into play. You got to have the house, you got to buy a house,
Right.
to start a family, to have kids and whatnot.
Well, the boomers have, like, everyone has,
Exactly.
like, boomer parents with, like, 3 places. Like, they should just hand these down. Yeah. I mean, it's just, like, the reality has shifted. But, yeah, it's totally right, I think. Whereas in the U.S., here's the difference. In Taiwan, if you, like, I find that when me and Angie come back to Taiwan, we go visit her parents. Her parents are then, like, bragging to all their friends. Oh, they're visiting. They're at home. The whole family's together. Right? In the U.S., like, you don't want to go back and live with your parents. They would be embarrassed to tell their friends that their kids can't afford their own, like, fancy home and don't have enough money to, like, do their own thing.
Wow.
Like, the goal for parents in the U.S. is, like, get your kids out of the house and have them make money as soon as possible. On their own, separate, fully on their own. Like they need to work. They need to work. Figure out how to work hard. Like some families might give people money, but the American spirit is like do it on your own.
Okay.
Like no one's gonna help you.
That's interesting. So like, so if you're like a 30-year-old guy and living in the U.S., your parents won't like kind of welcome you to come back home and then stay for like 2 months. No.
That would just be like that would be very hard for a lot of people, I think.
So is that, so that's why.
It's not like, it's just, yeah, I think it's just like you should have your own place.
But stay for a weekend, it's okay.
Yeah. For sure.
That's for kind of like Thanksgiving. That's why Thanksgiving and Christmas comes in.
Yeah.
You go back home
right.
for that special occasion, and then you're out.
Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, I'm somebody that loves to share space and, like, loves to have friends over. I love to have people stay with me. I have found, like, as I've gotten older, like, people have these bigger and bigger homes, but nobody wants to let other people into their space. There's sort of just this individualistic ethic. My own thing, my own house, my own rules, my own money, my own, like, everyone's just, like, doing their own thing. And so I do appreciate just much more communal spirit in Taiwan. Also, it's just the nature of the urban landscape, right? You're just packed together. You kind of have to be all near each other.
I think we would talk about the default path. We were talking about default path, the culture, kind of Taiwanese culture comparison to the U.S. culture a little bit. Now we can talk about the pathy path, more focus in this area. So maybe in one sentence, how would you kind of describe the pathy path to someone who's like first exposed to this idea? I think a lot of Taiwanese probably heard this idea the last couple of months, right?
So pathless path isn't a phrase I discovered by reading this poet, David White. And it's a concept that's been like loosely connected to like Taoist and Buddhist traditions. And it was in this passage where he's writing about when you first discover the idea of a pathless path, you're not fully meant to know what it means, right? But at that phase of my journey, it exactly described how I felt, which was that I feel like I'm headed in the right direction, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. Right? And that's okay. Right? Whereas the default path, it's like, here's my direction and I know exactly how to get there. Right? And so the pathless path, this phrase helped me just take a deep breath. Like, oh, I'm not supposed to know what I'm doing. Right? But I can connect to myself in the moment, in the day, and be like, for some reason, I'm excited about how I'm showing up, what the projects I'm working on, the people I'm connected with. If I just keep following this might lead somewhere interesting, right? And so the pathless path became this sort of like mantra I adopted and my wife adopted, we adopted together, which is sort of just like tipping our hat to the uncertainty of the world that can't be solved. You can't solve all the uncertainty in the world. Our world is inherently entropic and chaotic, right? And so people say, what's your plan? And we just say, I don't know. It's a pathless path, right? There is no plan.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're not doing like sensible things or paying attention to the world, right? So on the default path, it's I will acquire a home no matter what. Mm-hmm. On a pathless path, it's like, okay, we do need to house ourselves, but we're not tied to like how we set that up. That might be a way of framing it, right? And so on my path, like I don't have a plan for what I'm going to be doing for work 5 years from now. I'm open to opportunity. I don't know how I'm going to be making money 5 years from now. I hope it's writing. Maybe it won't be. It's really hard to make continued money writing. And so all I can do with that is like, okay, I'm uncertain and that's okay. And then focus on the present. Okay, how do I want to spend my time, energy on this planet, this one beautiful life?
Yeah, I love like how you describe in your book about like sometimes we don't even recognize the path when we are on the pathless path. And it's like I feel really like alleviate my stress because I always want to find a path even when I understand, the concept you mentioned, the pathless path. And then the next step for myself is like, I need to find the pathless path. So I like how you say about like, sometimes we're not even recognize it because it might not like even exist.
Yeah, and I think zooming out, we're all on pathless paths. Even if you're working full-time in a job, you have no idea what you'll be doing 20 years from now. No one has any idea. So you can't actually aim at it. You can fixate on an idea or a story you've generated, but ultimately you can't predict the future, right? So what I mean by that is, let's say you're an accountant in 1985 and you work for 40 years, right? And so it's 2025. You're in the final year of your career. You're literally using AI tools on a laptop, working remotely for a global corporation for like new accounting rules that were passed in the last 10 years for software businesses working on the internet. If you in 1985 tried to aim at that, you couldn't have come up with that, right? And so that person might have had this cover story of like, I'm going to follow like a predictable path and stay employed. And so maybe to him that gave him a sense of safety or security. But the reality is when you really look at it, he had no idea what he was doing. Mm-hmm. He just didn't want to admit it. And so what I'm arguing is like more people should just admit they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
This is a very powerful statement, but I totally agree, 100% agree. It's the thing we talk about. People are asking service level questions and talking about service level questions, but truthfully, they just don't want to admit the harder questions. They don't want to face the uncertainty that could be brought up when talking about these harder decisions or acknowledging the uncertainty or acknowledging the path is path.
Right. And so it's sort of a process. When you first step into the uncertainty, it's I don't like this. Make it go away. Over time, you're like, okay, I'm a little uncertain, but I'm going to keep going. Over time, it's like, okay, feeling a little uncertain. I've experienced this 100 times before. Eventually, you get to the point where it's like, you're just like laughing. It's like, it's all uncertain. We all have no idea. Anything could happen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, we can kind of predict like what's going to happen. Like most weeks are like the previous week. Most years are like the previous week, more or less. But over the long run, we are still just like making it up. And so if you can inject a little more playfulness, looseness, experimentation into your path, you can do that on any kind of path.
It's really just opening up to the opportunity and possibilities. And I wanted to ask about two things. The first thing is, I think that question came probably from me. I started the pathless path just last month, and I'm very fresh. I think I'm a freshman in this. I'm starting to acknowledging it. I'm starting to kind of welcoming my own uncertainty and stuff, all that emotions. What advice would you give someone who just started the pathless path?
Yeah, so I think just be nice to yourself. And let yourself make mistakes. You might be afraid making money, and somebody offers you a chance to make money doing something you don't want to do, and you're like, I'm scared to not take it. You take it, then you're pissed at yourself. Just like, that's normal. It's just like, I think a good anchor to anchor around is, okay, what's the energy I want showing up in my life? And just do like a weekly inventory, monthly inventory. Am I showing up as that energy? How do I keep protecting that? And if it's dying, then hit the caution button and like take drastic action. But always just be protecting that energy. But I think emotionally it's just hard. I've had a lot of sort of mentors and people's work I love on this. Like, my friend Johnny Miller runs this course called Nervous System Mastery, and it's all about these different practices you can do to really just tap into your body. And so this has been a huge part of like my work over the last 8.5 years, using the extra time I bought to like heal my relationship with myself, get to know my body, get comfortable with like feeling anger, feeling sadness, feeling vulnerability, and actually letting myself feel those things fully. And it's so hard at first, but over time, you start to like loosen up all sides of yourself. And then another one is Joe Hudson. He runs this podcast called Art of Accomplishment, and it's all about really like feeling emotions as a portal to like more joy in your life. He has this phrase saying, "Joy is the matriarch of emotions and will only come out to play if all his children are like seen." I'm messing it up a little, but it's basically like you need to feel all the emotions to get to joy.
Yeah.
You need to feel anger. You need to feel sadness. You need to feel anxiety, excitement. And so getting to like assigning language to what you're feeling, it's hard because I think for me, anxiety and excitement often show up as the same thing. And so for a lot of men especially, they were never allowed permission to be excited or enthusiastic or playful or like silly. Like, and so you just tamp that down and just do the anxiety instead. Right. And so understanding the layers, it takes years, but I'm still like learning and evolving with this, but yeah. And then have kids. They're like the greatest trigger ever and the greatest way to like have more fun and be sillier in your life.
That you kind of experience that again.
Oh my God. Like having my daughter just loves dancing every day. Like she just wants to dance to Moana and Frozen, and she makes you dance with her. Daddy, you're right there. Like, Stan, you have to do this move and like.
And does she like Golden? I
don't think she's seen Golden yet.
Oh.
They get obsessed. So, like, we've watched Moana like 25 times.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So she's still at the Moana phase.
Yeah.
That hasn't moved on.
Yeah. No, we got to Frozen. We're on Frozen now.
Okay, perfect. There's Frozen 2 and there's Moana 2. And then there's...
Moana 2's not that good.
No, okay.
Moana Original's great, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Great soundtrack.
Perfect. Well, I mean, the thing you talk about, it's probably the most... I started to practice this year as well, as acknowledging that, right? You talk a lot, I think, today about it's okay. And I think that's something a lot of Taiwanese, a lot of us, like, we seldom hear that. And it's just...
Like never.
Never.
Yeah,
right?
it's not great.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of relate to, I think, even in the U.S., like, there's a lot of, especially where I'm from in New England, there's a lot of just, like, resisting emotions and not wanting to feel them. Yeah, it's hard. Like, and it's good to have, like, a partner that can talk about these things. Like, but, yeah, I mean, avoiding emotions is, you're basically, like, deciding I will never grow as a person. I'm going to lock in with this anger or resentment and just run that pattern for decades.
Yeah.
That does not interest me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's how I kind of feel how that's how you can deal with the uncertainty by acknowledging the different emotions. I think you wrote about the author Brené Brown as well, and then her book Atlas of the Heart, which is a great book. I think like there's thousands, probably at least dozens of emotions that we don't know. We don't know how to describe because growing up, it's never allowed in a family of a Taiwanese family or an Asian family. You only have anger or you only have like happiness.
Yeah, so I'm really grateful I did this before having kids because kids trigger you all the time. They're screaming, they're yelling, they're crying, they're uncomfortable. You try to calm them down over a few hours and you get really frustrated. And so through doing this work, I've been able to notice my patterns and stop them, right? And so when a baby cries for like 2 hours, you really want them to stop and you get angry and frustrated.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have the self-awareness, you yell at the baby. You project it onto them. I don't like how I'm feeling. Stop what you're doing so I don't have to feel it. But with my reflection and practice, I can sort of like go, okay, I am feeling anger now. I need to process this. Or just like make the mature decision of like, Angie, step in for me. I'm really angry right now. I need to take a walk to sort of like process that. And that's where having like a great partner that talks about these things can help. You can tell people that weren't allowed to express emotions as a child with how they treat children, right?
I think that's like every Asian parent.
It's global too,
Yeah.
right? Go on a plane, if you see a baby crying and you see people angry and worked up, they weren't allowed to cry as a kid. Don't cry, be tough,
Yeah.
right? It's just an endless
Be
cycle.
polite.
People don't want to feel emotions. But on the other side of feeling emotions is like this sense of connectedness, this joy, this like, it's just a more full experience, I think.
Exactly. And specifically the energy you talk about, right? When
Yeah.
you acknowledge these emotions, you'll have a way to regain the energy. And then now the energy on this path is much more important than simply the dollar amounts of how much you're making, because you're kind of sort of saving up, or you're kind of building or gaining a lot of energies to do greater things or things that could give you 10x of return.
Or 10x return on my relationships.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, like, I spent a lot of time with my daughter over the past 2.5 years. It's, like, priceless for me.
Yes.
Right? And so the returns on that are, like, I have a really high-quality relationship with her in the future. That's the goal. Like, that is one thing I do want to aim at. And it's, I'm on my former path, my pattern was I feel discontent. I want to escape my current job. I look for the next job. Societally, that looked like success to other people because I'd often get a slight raise with changing jobs. Internally, I didn't feel good because I'm just constantly feeling like I need to escape. Now, underneath all that was me just feeling discontent, not good enough, right?
So I need another like higher paying job.
It's not even a higher paying job. It's just like I was just trying to get the emotion to go away without changing what I was doing in my life. And so the same pattern over and over again. 3 to 6 months into the next job, I'm discontent, I'm bored, I'm not as driven. Now, I didn't stop to think like, oh, I'm this hyper curious person that like loves reading and learning things. How could I completely reorient my life to like build that into the flow of my life? I just aim for the next job instead. And so when I quit my job, all that like insecurity came boiling to the surface. But by that time, I was like, all right, I'm not going back, so I do need to figure out how to deal with this. Right?
Yeah.
Because the option is always there to, like, just go take a consulting job to make more money. But I don't want to do that. right? And it gives me no comfort that that's an option because it's slightly terrifying to me. I don't want to go do that. Even though financially I would make a lot more money if I just went and did that. Even for like part-time freelance gigs, but I just don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people would think that, right? Just changing jobs or doing something will miraculously
It can work for some
promotion.
people.
Yeah.
Right? But I think my book often resonates with people who have many interests, super curious, like learning, very self-driven. And so those people often aren't good matches for like one kind of job.
Yeah.
And so you can make it work by jumping job to job. There's nothing wrong with jumping job to job. It's just a story that you shouldn't. That is like very useful for employers that don't want to pay you more money, right?
Yeah.
And so you just have to figure out what you need to do given your environment and options and context.
Got it. Well, I think the next question, you probably talk or touch a little bit on this, is then what advice would you give to someone who's maybe 5 years or a couple years in the pathless path? They've uncovered, the uncertainty, the stories, the default path. They step on the pathless path. You probably, met a lot of people in the community. And what advice or what things have you seen these people do when they're kind of evolving from 1 year, second year into 5 year or like longer?
I think at 5 years, they're probably like all in at that point, right? I think a lot of people, if they've made it to 5 years, they've sort of fallen in love with the alternative path. I think a lot of people experience in their first year this, people know almost right away within 6 months, it's like, oh my God, I will literally do anything to protect this time and freedom.
Yeah.
Or, I don't like this. I like a stable paycheck and rather just do the job thing. And so the people that are at 5 years, they're often like, they found a different formula that worked. They like who they're able to show up as. They like the time freedom, things like that. I think one of the hardest things I had to learn was being more ambitious in a way that was aligned with what I actually cared about. And so whenever I push in the direction of like trying to be ambitious in terms of making more money, it often just like, I get stuck, I get frustrated, I lose interest, I lose energy. But when I am ambitious in the direction of doing more creative stuff, like for example, writing a book, that was like very ambitious from a writing standpoint of like a challenging task, I loved it. And so one of the things I learned was like not to be scared of success, because a lot of people leave their former paths and pair this broad idea of success with succeeding in a traditional job, and then they leave and reject that. And so I think rejecting it for a time being is great. It can sort of protect you or immunize you from going back right away. But you need to process that and move through that. That's a temporary phase. You can't still be angry at your former path 5 years in.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be moving forward on the path you actually want to be on. And so that involves like committing to things, like dealing with the deeper emotional things. Like one of the other things I've had to deal with is fear of success.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fear around people helping me and not figuring out things on my own. I've really worked on that in the past couple of years. Fear of success is really scary too. I think just fear of like being seen or like being exposed or like made fun of. Those are things I've had to work on as well.
Can you tell me a little bit more about like how you deal with, how you worked on the fear of success, fear of being seen, fear of, sharing? I think you wrote it in the book as well, that fear of sharing it online or share stuff publicly.
Yeah, so I think I did have fear of writing and sharing online, but I got over that quick because I found so much joy in it and I was able to connect and meet people that resonated with my writing. I think the broader fear of success has been a lot harder for me. Mm-hmm. I think one is I don't enjoy like business best practices, like for launches, for like book launches and stuff. I hate the whole like drumming up pre-sales for 6 months and like pressuring people to buy stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I just want to like talk about stuff continuously over time in like a natural way. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I don't really care if like people buy the book. I don't have like a goal of like that many I have to sell. It's really just fun to like talk about it and share it. And so over time, I've gained more confidence. I think a lot of my confidence has come from my readers who are like, oh my God, I love this. I get these lengthy emails or like, I love this book. It changed my life, like all these things. And it means so much to get those messages and notes. And I think I had a bunch of people over the years, like, you need to get this out there more. Like more people need to read this. And so I started being more ambitious in like a way that felt good after The Pathless Path came out. I didn't do a book launch or any promotional events like in the first couple of months. People started emailing me. I started like sending people copies to give away to friends. That felt really good and fun. I renamed my podcast to the Pathless Path podcast from Boundless to sort of align it around the book idea. I started interviewing like bolder guests and bigger guests and got some dream guests on my podcast. That was really fun. That helped me be more ambitious in a way that felt good without having to like beg people to go on their podcasts. And yeah, I think when you're showing up in ways that feel good and true, like you attract other people to help you, right? Versus when you're sort of like desperate for like help or like trying to aim at things like that you're sort of at war with or wrestling. And so 3 years ago, I couldn't have said like, yeah, I want to sell a lot of books and I feel great about that and I'd love to make money from writing. Now I can say that and it feels okay. And yeah, I think some people are often surprised at how much I struggle with that. But I think I grew up with this individualistic ethos in the U.S. You have to work hard. You have to figure it out on your own. You have to be your own person. No one will help you. If you're not making good money, it's your fault, right? All these things, and just like processing that shame has helped me show up. And yeah, like creating and sharing stuff online will force you to deal with all your insecurities, whether you want to or not. Because people will make fun of you. You will feel awkward, and
there's haters, there's different kind of comments.
If you enjoy it, you're just going to decide, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and if you've had a book as successful as mine, you have like dozens of comments saying this is a terrible book.
Yeah, of course.
It hurts, but like now it's just like, kind of cracks me up. It's like, what are you doing? You literally read my entire book and then went online and then critiqued it. Like, stop reading 10 pages in.
Yeah.
Like, quit. Go read other books. There are millions of books.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel the same when we have some haters. They're just so...
Yeah, why are you listening?
Yeah, they're so
Stop.
in love with listening.
This is a message to the haters. If you're listening right now and you don't enjoy this podcast, there are so many other podcasts out there. Stop listening. Go listen to something else.
Exactly. I think that's also a very powerful statement that you talk about like 5 minutes ago when you talk about like, hey, there's a book, and then nowadays there's so many business practice or best practice of like how to sell a book online, right? There's pre-launch, there's all these different tactics, and then you sort of like do it your own way. And I really admire that because it's a lot of people there's a lot of FOMO online that you have to like, even you're selling a digital product or a book or an ebook, you have to, hit the milestone, the mark and whatnot. So I think and then you found energy, and then after like a couple years after the book is still selling and it's gaining relevance around the world, I think that's really powerful, and then that's really good.
Yeah, it's great. And so it's all about adapting, right?
Yeah.
I think when I published my book, the way I was setting up my life was to make money doing other stuff so that I could write without having to worry about money. Then I started making money from my book, and I like talking about my ideas. So it's like, okay, it's sensible to lean more into that and like start thinking about taking this publishing and writing path a little more seriously, right? But even still, foreign rights, for example, when you sell a book to another country, Taiwan, and it gets published by a publisher here, they paid me $4,000 for the rights to my book. That's an advance against book sales. Now, I get like 7.5% of the list price of physical books. So I'll make about 30 NT per book, probably less after like agent fees.
Okay.
So I'd have to sell about like 5,000 books to ever make another dollar in the next 5 years. 5,000 books is actually pretty hard to sell.
Yeah.
And even if I sold like 10,000 books over the next 5 years, that'd be like really good for Taiwan, which would mean I'd only make $1,000 a year. So I'm not doing this podcast to like become rich. I'm doing this podcast because like it's really fun to like connect with people in Taiwan. Like I'm having so much fun launching the book in Taiwan because it's a place that means so much to me and my family. My daughter's Taiwanese. And like I'm so inspired by the people doing stuff here that are doing it. And it's just like an excuse to do a lot of like fun stuff.
Yeah.
It would be a lot smarter for me to like be using this time to like write another book instead. But I'm just more and more leaning into like what is most fun, what is most energizing, even if there's no like outcome or anything.
I think the notion of like what is more fun, because I know you're really close with Ali Abdel, and then he talked about the feel good productivity, and that's kind of the same idea of like, hey, you gotta feel good, right? And then that productivity or that outcome or that synergy, maybe the synergy from going on to different podcasts will give you something back, and then that's maybe the 10x energy that you'll gain, and then you probably have more energy going into next year and or the next phase of your book or the next book.
Yeah,
and I think that's very interesting, because aiming for fun for a lot of people is not an option, right?
Well, I don't know if that's true. I think that is the default mindset.
Yeah.
And I've noticed in Taiwan on social media, people love these discipline messages.
Yeah.
You gotta grind. You gotta be like David Goggins and just like push yourself so extreme. It fits perfectly to a society where like people grew up saying like you should always be suffering.
Yeah.
And you should feel bad for like everything.
Yeah.
And so you might have to struggle in work. But most people have literally never considered the fact that work might also be enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, people get offended by that idea. Oh, you can't tell people that. What if they think work can just be, what if they're lazy?
Yeah. What if
right?
Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
And it's all these fears like what if we stop grinding now? The world will come to a halt. It's like, this is insanity. And there's sort of this disconnect of like, people pick out these moments where like people are like, I grind so hard. Like I suffered. I was in so much pain. Jensen Huang is one of these people. He's from Tainan. He has these clips where he's talking about, oh, I'm grinding so hard. It's so painful. I suffer my whole life, and that's how I'm here. But I did a deep dive on Jensen Huang and how he talks about work. You never see the clips of these other things he said about work, which is like, this is my life's work. It feels effortless. It feels in the flow of my life. I really enjoy what I'm doing. I love the people around me. I feel so connected to myself. Like, he says these things also, but they just don't go viral.
Yeah.
And so it's this, like, I call it a suffer Ponzi scheme, where, like, we're just trying to reproduce infinite suffering, and we just want to stay blind to the fact that, like, work actually can also feel good.
Yeah. Exactly.
If you are not suffering, you are not working hard enough.
Yeah,
people
know
think
what?
all
At
the
the
time.
end of your life, there's not like a counter of like how much did you grind.
Yeah.
I don't really grind in anything I do. When it's entering into like pain or suffering, I stop. I stop well before that.
Yeah, but there's people I've seen, especially on social media, right? I've seen the algorithm or different posts about like how much time they spend writing this post, how much time they spend.
Well, it's mostly men, grinding. And it's mostly men who are disconnected from their emotions.
Yeah.
And I think many of these people aren't even aware of the fact that they are probably experiencing some joy and excitement too.
Yeah.
Right? And they're just like layering on this like tight, grindy, like, I must grind.
Yeah.
There's a difference between hard work and needless, painful work. Writing a book is hard and challenging, but that challenge is fun for me. Humans want to do hard things. We don't want to do hard things that other people are forcing us to do.
Yes.
Or that the manager in our head is forcing us to do.
Or that is just meaningless hard things.
And so I see this a lot in like the creator world where like people perform business rather than like doing the work they want to do or doing what makes sense, right? They're like spending weeks coming up with a business plan and like signing incorporation agreements and like having meetings and giving people titles. And it's like they don't have a product or money yet.
Yeah.
Just go find a customer. What are you doing?
They're just fulfilling their self-esteem and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think these are all really, really great advices, and we're kind of like towards the end of the show, and do you want to like ask you or maybe you can share some couple of ending notes about the book Pathly Path? And I think you told me a lot of Taiwanese readers, especially when they read the book, after they read the book, they found it inspiring. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, and then kind of we can end the show here, just giving some people some inspiring words, and maybe for readers or listeners who's listened or who has listened through the show to this point, maybe you'll be interested in picking up a book in Taiwan and then read it yourself and then go explore more.
Yeah, I think people who read the book say two things. One is it gave them permission to do something they wanted to do, right? And two is it made them feel better about thoughts they already had about work or had started to think about but couldn't put into words, right? And so the reason people say that is because the book was a permission slip to myself to keep going.
Yeah.
I dealt with a lot of insecurity and fear and sort of feeling shame in those first few years. And the book, I wrote the introduction, the part where it's like, I want people to not live the lives they're supposed to, but the lives they're capable of, and have the courage to live lives where they can thrive. And that sentence came to me while October 2021, I'm riding in Kending on a scooter. I was very frustrated riding. I couldn't figure out what the intro was about. And Angie says, why don't you just like go on the scooter, take a ride? I'm riding up to Hungtun, and it just like comes to me. And I actually just start crying. And I think I was so scared to admit how much I care about this, not only for myself, but for other people. Like, I had felt trapped for so long in the corporate world. And so people saw the success, but they didn't see all the struggles beneath the surface, which is like not something to complain about, but like I had those struggles. And it was really a message to myself to keep going, and putting that in writing so powerfully was like spilling out of me. And I think after that moment, I knew like, okay, I'm staying on this path, and like I want to be a champion for other people. I want to root for other people. I want to give other people permission basically to be the people they already are. Like, the world has so many possibilities for working in different ways, and we still pretend like there's like one way to do adult life. It's crazy. You can do so many things. Lean into it, have fun, try stuff, see what happens.
Oh, that's very inspiring. And I think that also gives me a lot of inspiration to find my own, to go on my own path this year. And I appreciate that. And then you I'm sure you get this a lot. You create a kind of like this community where a lot of people can actually share about these ideas and then find each other and then be more powerful, be more fun on this path.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys are so lucky you're doing this together. You have each other to support each other and have these conversations. I think that is my secret weapon is having Angie as my wife, because people are like, oh, what is it like? Our life's kind of boring. Like, we just go home and like spend our days together. Like, we have a crazy life on paper, but like, we just do like normal stuff at home, and like we're very grounded and like have each other to like live this life with us. So it feels normal to us now. But it's with a partner who like wants to live that unconventional life and wants to make the trade-offs and keep talking about it. So yeah, marry somebody who's on board with this. That's the key to life.
That's a great advice as well. Like finding a good partner and then really appreciate that, and then go on the life that you both of you want together, or build the life that you want together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing your story. I think sometimes people they never see like the path, the work or the job they can choose. Like for Taiwanese people, we are like follow our parents' path, follow like other
Or peers.
But
that's everywhere.
Yeah, but by sharing your story, that more people understand that, oh, maybe we can do that too. That's really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, Morris Chung.
Yeah.
When did he start TSMC?
Yeah.
He was 56 years old.
Exactly.
Still time.
Yeah.
I'm only 40.
Yeah. Well, really appreciate you jumping on and then having this conversation. I learned a lot. I hope our listeners learn a lot too, and we'll stay in touch.
谢谢。